Hi everyone. Today I am talking to you from sunny Spain, and I'm going to do a presentation on intuitive eating. I think it's really important before we decide what you should be eating, what your meals should be looking like, is for those of you that just have an unhealthy relationship with food. You tend to binge eat, you tend to overeat, you tend to use food as an emotional crutch. I think it's much more important to start with the basic, going back to our roots and going back to what it means to be an intuitive eater. So basically, we've evolved originally to eating was to live. We now have so many choices and so many wonderful foods and the kind of options we never had thousands of years ago that today we tend to live to eat. So intuitive eating really is going back to having that connection of knowing when to eat because you're truly hungry, when to stop eating because actually you've had enough, rather than to continue eating because you're loving the taste of the food. And also, are you reaching out for foods for emotional crutches, for other reasons apart from being hungry? So, intuitive eating is really going back to having that connection of really being much more mindful of when you're eating, why you're eating. Is it really necessary to eat a huge plate of food when actually, had you eaten half the amount, you would have been completely satisfied? So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And I'm just going to give you the principles of intuitive eating, what it means, and how to get you started on becoming more mindful of what it means, and hopefully starting to apply it in your own lives so that you have just a much healthier attitude and relationship with food. So I'm going to share the screen now. So this is the 10 principles of intuitive eating, and what to expect from this presentation is that there are 10 principles that are associated with intuitive eating, how to channel your emotions, so instead of eating them, how to master intuitive eating, and more. So, what exactly is intuitive eating? Well, let's think of it to start with. When we were babies, that's the way we started out. We started out intuitive eating. We would cry when we were hungry, and we would stop eating when we were full. So, that's intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is a way of eating that has nothing to do with diets, meal plans, discipline, or willpower. It's about getting back to your roots and learning to trust your body again. It's about ditching the diet and healing your relationship with food. So, again, when we say go back to the roots, unfortunately, what did happen to us as children is we started off with this intuitive eating. We were hungry, we cried, we'd had enough, we stopped eating. That was us as babies. But then all kinds of things start happening when we are children. Our parents start rewarding us. So food becomes associated with I was good, therefore I was entitled to a treat. Um, and then you have comfort foods. You come back from school, you're crying, you've had a fight with a friend at school, or you're unhappy, and your mother says, come, I'm going to give you your favorite cake, or I'm going to take you to the shops and let's go choose your favorite sweets, and that'll make you feel much better. So that's already where comfort eating starts to come in. And then you've got the habits that start to be formed. It's a Saturday night, and it's typical for the family to get together and watch a movie on TV, but you cannot watch the movie without the crisps and the chips and the chocolates and the sodas and the cokes and the noshing your way throughout the movie. And then, of course, you go to the cinema, and the minute you go to the cinema, you have to have the popcorn when you sit in the movie. And at home, every time you sit in front of the TV, there's a snack that joins you. So what you want to do is you want to get your relationship with food back to really that you eat when you're hungry, and you typically tend to have 3 meals a day. If people have got the correct relationship with food, you're going to have your breakfast, you're going to eat as much as you need to be satisfied, you're going to be feeling fine until lunchtime. If you've got the right combination of foods that are giving you the correct amount of slow releasing energy, you generally shouldn't be feeling hungry in between your meals. And if you are, you need to eat, because if you allow hunger to accumulate, that's also when you tend to overeat. So you should be having your 3 healthy meals a day, the right combination of your macronutrients, your carbohydrates, fats, and protein, to keep your energy levels releasing slowly throughout the day, so you don't have the spikes and the crashes that are associated with the blood sugar roller coaster, as we call it. When you get those energy dips, you tend to crave food. And when you're low on energy, you're going to be craving the very foods that put energy back in your system as quick as possible. And that's always going to be the high sugar foods that convert into glucose very, very quickly. So when you're exhausted and you've got no energy, you tend to be craving your pastas, your breads, a chocolate, a sweet, a donut, but something that's going to give you that energy boost quickly. You're not craving a piece of meat with broccoli or some healthy fats, avocado. You are craving those high calorie foods that are going to make you reach out for them. And then the tendency, because they're addictive, once you reach out for a chocolate, you tend to have more than just one. So, that's just to discuss what intuitive eating brings you back to, and what happened as a child where we've lost that connection with just pure intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is a way of eating that has nothing to do with diets, meal plans, discipline, or willpower. It's about getting back to your roots, learning to trust your own body signals again. It's about ditching the diet and healing your relationship with food. So where to start? The first place to start is to reject the diet mentality. Rejecting the diet mentality is huge. And I think that most of you listening to this presentation will have at least at some point in your life been on a diet. There are very, very few people that I know that can honestly say that they've never, ever tried a diet. And when you intuitively realize that diets don't work, if you're dieting in terms of, or for the reason to lose weight, if you're dieting for certain health issues, that's a completely different issue. But when you are dieting to lose weight, it just in the long run doesn't work. And I think most people have realized you go on a diet for a specific period of time, you may achieve your objectives, you may lose the amount of weight you want to lose, but it doesn't take long when you stop that way of eating that the weight starts to come back on. So intuitive eating is also more about a way of eating for the rest of your life, rather than stopping and starting all these different diets. So this is where we get to two very important hormones in your body. They are called ghrelin and leptin. These hormones regulate the hunger. And if you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're going to find that your ghrelin is overstimulated and your leptin decreases. And the ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So if you are not getting enough sleep, you're going to have excess amounts of the hunger hormone. And I think most people will agree that when you are exhausted and you haven't been getting enough sleep, you again tend to crave the foods. First of all, your hunger hormone has increased. So you're going to be feeling like snacking throughout the day. And then you're tired. You haven't got enough energy. So you're going to be doing exactly what I said a few minutes ago. You're going to be reaching out for the very foods that give you that spurt of energy, that increased amount of glucose in your bloodstream suddenly. So that's the roller coaster, the blood sugar roller coaster. Your blood sugar levels spike. You feel fantastic for a few hours, and then they completely crash again. So keeping your body biologically fed with adequate energy and carbohydrates is so important. If you are eating the right proportions of your macronutrients, and also you must remember when you are micronutrient deficient, so you are eating empty calories, in other words, so you're eating loads of foods, but they are not high in vitamins and minerals. When your body is nutrient deficient, the only signal that your body can give you that it needs, for example, magnesium or calcium, is hunger. Because the only way these nutrients are going to come back into your body is via food. So often, hunger signals are basically because you're malnourished and you're not getting enough nutrient density in the foods you're eating. So once you reach the moment of excessive hunger, all intentions of moderate, conscious eating are fleeting and irrelevant. So this is what I said to you earlier as well. You eat your 3 meals a day, and if you're getting the right combination of your macronutrients and they're micronutrient dense, so there's lots of vitamins and minerals in them, you should be fine between your meals. You shouldn't be hungry. But if you are, you need to have the right snacks. And I will do a presentation on what healthy snacking looks like. It can be delicious. So it isn't about eating foods you don't enjoy. It is about enjoying your meals, enjoying your snacks, but just knowing what the right combinations are, what the right foods are. And if you're feeling, the minute you start to feel a little bit hungry, if you're slightly hungry and you have a small snack, you'll be satisfied. But if you wait until you're absolutely starving, it's just normal that you're going to overeat. So learning to honor the first biological signal sets the stage for rebuilding trust with yourself and food. Make peace with food. So call a truce, stop the food fight. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat. If you tell yourself that you can't or shouldn't have a particular food, it can lead to intense feelings of deprivation that build into uncontrollable cravings and then often binging. When you finally give in to your forbidden food, eating will be experienced with such intensity, it usually results in overeating, and then you've got the overwhelming feeling of guilt. And then challenge the food police. You know, most people have got this. They've got the food police that is basically monitoring unreasonable rules that dieting has created. So the police station is housed deep in your psyche. Its loudspeaker shouts negative barbs, hopeless phrases, and guilt-provoking indictments. Scream a loud no to thoughts in your head that declare you're good for eating minimal calories or bad because you ate a piece of chocolate cake. And chasing the food police away is a critical step in returning to intuitive eating. So this might not apply to everybody, but those of you that go, oh, I feel so bad. I had a piece of cake yesterday, or I'm feeling so good. I had hardly any calories. This good-bad association with food is completely contrary to the intuitive way of eating. And then again, respect your fullness. So what happens is when you are hungry, your ghrelin hormone rises and it signals to the body that you need to eat. When you sit down and you start to eat, there comes a point when actually your stomach has got enough food. And when the food stimulates your leptin hormone, that hormone then sends a signal to the brain saying, stop, 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 I've had enough. But what is very interesting is it takes 20 minutes for that hormone signal to go from the gut to the brain. And the reason why is because historically, as hunter-gatherer, we didn't have this ready available access to food. We were hunting for our food. We were gathering our food. And when we sat and ate, we had no idea if it was going to be a day, a week, or a month before we managed to catch another animal. We had times of harsh weather conditions where it wasn't so easy to gather fruits and vegetables from the earth and from the ground. So we had times when we weren't quite sure when we were going to eat. So this delayed signaling has evolved with us in order to get us to slightly overeat when we sat down at meals. Historically, just have that little extra in reserve. So in case we weren't going to get food for the next few days or weeks, we had extra food and energy in reserve from slightly overeating at meals. But we don't have that today. So today we've got food that is just so accessible to us. So if you sit down and eat slowly, this is one of the benefits of slow eating. If you eat slowly, there's going to come a point in time when you're full. And if you eat slowly, that signal is going to get to the brain, and hopefully you're going to stop eating. And I'm sure many of you have had the experience where you're sitting at the table, you're eating a plate of food, you're absolutely loving the food you're eating, you're gobbling up your food, the phone rings, you go take the phone call, you're away from the table for 10, 15, 20 minutes, you come back, you look at your plate of food and you go, actually, I've had enough, I'm full. That's because that's exactly what's happened. While you were on the phone, the signal has got to the brain and the feeling of fullness has clicked in. So the benefits of chewing your food 30 times, apart from helping take the stress off your stomach, because if you can imagine, you chew your food slowly, the food digests in the mouth and it gets swallowed almost in liquid form. That is way easier for your stomach to start digesting than when you swallow clumps of food, particularly meat. You swallow a bit of a whole piece of meat. You haven't chewed it properly. It arrives in your stomach, and the enzymes in your stomach have a pretty tough job trying to break that down. So that's the benefit of chewing 30 times takes a huge amount of stress off the digestive system, but you're eating slower, and this is when you're going to get to a point where that leptin hormone signals to the brain that you're full. And most people will acknowledge that they start eating and there is a point when they have really had enough and they're no longer eating to satisfy their requirements from the meal, but rather because they're just enjoying the food. It's delicious and they eat way more than they need to. So intuitive eating brings you back to enjoying your food by coming to a point where the stop signal comes out. Observe the signs that show that you're comfortably full. Pause in the middle of a meal or food and ask yourself how the food tastes and how full you actually are. So when you eat, what you really want, you want to be eating in an environment that is inviting and conducive. The pleasure you derive will be a powerful force in helping you feel satisfied and content. So as a nutritional therapist, I love eating. I love food. And I think that it's just sad when people have to go on diets where they get told they can have a chicken breast and they get told this is the size of the chicken breast in the palm of the hand, and the lettuce leaf with a bit of water, no oil, no salad dressings. So when I devise eating plans for people, I absolutely make sure that we go through lists and lists and lists of amazing foods. There are so many wonderful recipes that you can be making yourself desserts if you want a dessert at the end of a meal. You can there's so many tasty ways of eating healthily. It's just for people that aren't really aware of it, learning. But there's no doubt that you need to be sitting down and enjoying the food you're eating. Because if you get prescribed a diet plan and you don't enjoy the food, the only thing that's going to happen is the rest of the day you're going to have this unsatisfied feeling and you're going to be walking around constantly thinking of and then searching for something that's going to make you feel, I feel more satisfied now. So by providing this experience of eating food in a way and in a manner that really does provide a great experience, you will find that it takes much less food to decide that you've had enough. And then again, we go back to honoring your feelings without using food. Find ways to comfort, nurture, distract, and resolve your issues without using food. Food won't fix any of these feelings, so it's just a momentary thing. You go for the comfort foods, and actually, for many people, no sooner do you put that last bite of the comfort food in your mouth, then you feel twice as bad because it didn't solve the emotion or the reason why you went for the food in the first place. And then on top of it, for many people, they have the added feeling of guilt. So again, it may comfort for the short term, distract you from the pain, or numb you into a food hangover. If anything, eating for an emotional hunger will only make you feel worse in the long run. You'll ultimately have to deal with the source of the emotion, as well as the discomfort of overeating or the weight that you put on or whatever it is that has accompanied this constant comfort eating binges. Then respect your body. Accept your genetic blueprint. Just as a person with a shoe size of 8 would not expect to realistically squeeze into a size 6, it is equally as futile and uncomfortable to have the same expectation with your body size. But mostly respect your body so you can feel better about who you are. It's hard to reject the diet mentality if you are unrealistic and overly critical about your own body shape. And most people must remember that it's your own body, it's your own image of your body that you are projecting onto other people. So you are thinking that people are seeing you in a particular way, but they're not. So if you start to really love yourself and love your body, you'll feel, when you feel that love for yourself, when you love your body the way it is, you will then start projecting that on others, and you'll just feel so much happier and so much more comfortable. And when you start to eat in a particular way, and to eat a much healthier diet, to be much more intuitive and instinctive when it comes to eating, you will find that there comes a point when your body lands up in the place that it's designed to be. And once you get there, you need to give up this fight of wanting to be some unrealistic body shape or size that just is never written into your genetic code. And I think it makes such a difference, if people just accept that we are all so varied. We come with such different body shapes, sizes, with different heights, and we need to really look at ourselves and just love and appreciate what we've been God-given. Then we come to exercise. So forget the militant exercise. Just get active, move lots, and feel the difference. Shift your focus to how it feels to move your body rather than the calorie burning effect of exercise. If you focus on how you feel from working out, such as energized, in a much better mood, it can make the difference between rolling out of bed for a brisk morning walk or just hitting the snooze alarm and going back to sleep. If when you wake up, your only goal is to lose weight, it is usually not a motivating factor in that moment of time. So again, with the exercise, people seem to believe that they have to get to the gym. And actually, there's a big misnomer here, because if you look at the way we were when we evolved, we were movers. And the reason the HIIT, I think, is so successful, the high intensity interval training, is because basically that's how we evolved. We were hunter-gatherers, we were collecting firewood, we were building shelters, we were moving from place to place, we were gathering our fruits and our berries all day long. And every now and again, we were chasing an animal for our meat, or we were being chased. And that were the intense moments. And the rest of the time, we were just moving at a constant pace. So for people who think that going to the gym for 1 hour in the morning and running like crazy on the treadmill is all they need, that's often where people go wrong, because they then go to the office, they get to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, they've done their gym from 6 to 7, and they sit the entire day. And it really is much healthier if you get rid of that fixation of having to be in the gym. Obviously, loads of people enjoy it, and I'm not saying, I'm a person who loves doing exercise, and I do get the endorphins, and I love the feeling of exercise. But for people who don't, they mustn't think that that's the be-all and end-all, because movement throughout the day is way more important. And the way you do that is if you're a person taking public transport to work, you just make sure that instead of getting out at the building where you work, you get out a few blocks before, and you walk a bit of the way. You walk a bit of the way home. When you're in the office, if you're on the mobile phone a lot during the day, instead of sitting at your desk on the mobile phone, get up and pace. When you need to go to the toilet, choose a toilet that's on a floor above or a floor below. So you have times in the day when you're climbing up and down stairs. When you get home, if it's If you love music and you love dancing, just switch on a favorite song of yours and just jump up and down for about 2-3 minutes. If you okay with it, get a skipping rope and find times in the day where you skip 2 or 3 times. 30 seconds is all you need. And that is to get your heart rate, up, your blood's pumping around the body quicker, and it just has those moments of really increasing your heart rate is good for you, and it doesn't have to be at the gym for an hour. There's so many ways of doing it. So honor your health. Remember that you don't have to eat a perfect diet to be healthy. The 80-20 rule really does apply. If you're eating well 80% of the time, it doesn't matter what you do 20% of the time. So if you're generally having a great diet Monday to Friday and the weekends come and you love socializing and you always go to dinner parties on the weekend and you obviously don't want to be sitting there saying, well, I can't eat this and I won't eat that. Just enjoy your meals. In fact, when you stress too much about what you're eating, the stress of worrying about what you can and can't eat when you go out to a dinner party the negative effects are way more than just sitting and relaxing and enjoying a social evening with friends and eating what's on your plate for the evening. It's not going to affect you tomorrow if not 80% of the time you're just doing well. And also what I say to people is they eat well, they eat healthily, and then they have a night where they go out and they just do all the things that they consider they shouldn't have done. And the next morning they wake up and they go, oh, I was bad last night. I ate the wrong foods last night. And then they feel that sets them on the course of wrong eating again. That's absolutely not the way it should be. It doesn't matter what you ate last night. It's Sunday or it's Monday morning and you get straight back onto your healthier regime. And you enjoy the moments that you break out. So you will not suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or gain weight from one snack, one meal, or one day of eating. It's what you eat consistently over time that matters. Progress, as I keep saying, progress is what counts. It's not perfection. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. I hope you have a better understanding of what intuitive eating is all about. And I hope you start to become more mindful for those of you that do the comfort eating or the binge eating or the sitting in front of the TV, always having your packet of crisps or your chocolates. I hope you just give a lot more thought to it and find that you just develop a much healthier relationship with food, because it just makes a huge difference to the enjoyment you get out of it without these feelings of guilt, good, bad, yo-yo dieting, and all those things that just really do impact on one's relationship with food. So as usual, sending lots of love and saying goodbye.